Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time the question comes to us from the animation connoisseur who asked, "Hey Thor, why does it seem like the Star Wars fanbase can be so sporadic at times? Like one minute they love something, the next they hate it. For example, for so long it seemed like the prequels were despised by the fans, and now the fanbase, for the most part, seems to love them. And when The Force Awakens came out, everyone seemed to be interested in Rey and her lineage. I know for a fact I was, but nowadays all you ever hear about her is that she's a terrible character or a Mary Sue. And as more recent examples, it seems like now people have started turning against Dave Filoni and his work, when before pretty much everyone was championing him as the savior of Star Wars. Not to mention the fact that when Ahsoka was first introduced, many people thought she was one of the worst characters in the franchise, then began praising her as one of the best, only for some to recently turn against her once again, as evidenced by her, in my opinion, quite unreasonable drop in your revote on Battle of the Heroes and Villains. Perhaps this feeling I get may come from not being able to keep up with the opinions of Star Wars fans on social media platforms 24/7, even though I try my best to, but still, it really feels like the fanbase just can't make up its mind at times. Is there any truth to what I'm saying here, or have I been misled somehow? And I think what you're getting at here is a sort of phenomenon that is by no means unique to Star Wars and has come about from living in a day and age where we have this thing called, as you even talk about a little, called social media, where virtually anyone and everyone can put their opinions out there on anything. And unfortunately, it tends to be those with the wildest or craziest takes on things, or the most extreme takes, that get the most attention or the biggest reactions. And along with this, along with the rise of social media in general, has come the rise of selling opinions and making a lot of money off of them. This has become a big business. I mean, just ask yourself, how many YouTube videos do you watch that are nothing more than someone taking a piece of news or information and giving you their completely subjective take or one-sided opinion on what it means and why it's the biggest thing to ever happen? A good example of what I'm kind of talking about here, how wildly things can switch from one side to the other and in a blink of an eye, and we have to move away from Star Wars for just a minute here and into the world of sports, or the NFL in particular, where this sort of thing happens all the time, where people are very quick to give their craziest takes on things, and even faster than they do in other corners of entertainment like film. Anyway, as some of you out there know, Jordan Love is now the new quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, replacing Aaron Rodgers, who is one of the greatest in the history of the game, who himself replaced another great before him. He replaced Brett Favre before him. And after one good game to start the season, the second start of his entire career, mind you, there were literally people out there saying Jordan Love was going to be the third great Hall of Fame caliber quarterback in a row for the Packers. But then he struggled for a few games, and suddenly he was a complete bust who couldn't play, and that he should be benched, and the Packers needed to move on and draft a new quarterback in the upcoming draft next year. But now he's won a few games in a row, looking pretty good in the process, and once again he is the next Aaron Rodgers. The guy is destined for the Hall of Fame. And you might be thinking to yourself, especially if you're not so much a fan of professional sports, but you might be thinking, well, wouldn't most people or most fans have a more wait-and-see attitude with him? Don't most think we should maybe wait a full season, or the majority of one at least, before we start making anything remotely close to final judgments? Especially if he's played both bad and good this year. And the answer to that is, yeah, probably. Most Packer fans are probably wanting to indeed play the wait-and-see game with him. They're excited he's doing well and were disappointed when he wasn't doing so well, but they're probably more or less somewhere in the, again, let's wait and see how this all turns out. But nobody cares about that take. It doesn't get you attention on social media, and it doesn't sell on places like YouTube. No one is going to click on a video or an article that has the headline saying, "I don't think we can make any definitive statements about Jordan Love just yet." They're going to click on the ones that call him a football god, either because they want to agree with it, or because it is so stupid they want to read it and respond to it, telling the person who thinks that they're crazy. And it's the same way going back to Star Wars now, that no one really wants to hear you say that we should wait and see with Dave Filoni and his recent promotion to Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm. Instead, this already either has to be the worst news or decision ever made in history, since, as they'll say, Ahsoka was hot garbage and he's nothing more than a lackey of Kathleen Kennedy anyway, Or it'll go the other way and people will say, well, the Clone Wars was amazing, so was Rebels, and now with him in charge, Star Wars is 100% saved and everything is going to be great from here on out. When in reality, with him having done some good and some bad, we'll probably have to wait and see how he does before we get to make anything resembling a definitive answer. Or at least we should, but again, that doesn't sell. And even though it feels like everyone kind of falls into one of these two extremes, actually the majority of people, according to this poll I did a couple weeks back when this was announced, according to this poll, surprise, surprise, most people, the majority, want to wait and see or didn't have extremely strong opinions either way just yet. It's only that those with those strongest, most extreme opinions get the most attention and therefore seem like where most people fall into. And so, kind of going back to the question now, I don't think it's that the fan base is sporadic. I mean, it is to some degree, sure, because people change their minds all the time on stuff, and sometimes randomly so. But it seems to be so sporadic because those with the loudest voices, or the most listened to voices, they generally have the most extreme or polarizing takes. That's why people listen to them, because they're saying things that are potentially crazy, right? Which isn't to say people don't ever slowly change their minds on things. You bring up the prequels and how they seem to be generally more accepted, which could be because, yeah, they are, or because that generation grew up. That's a big debate to be had. You also mentioned Ahsoka, and I think she is a good example of a character that has certainly had her ups and downs over the years, and fans' minds have changed along with that. But coming from someone who, has made a video or two or 1,000 giving his opinion on some things. Hell, my whole second channel is basically devoted to videos where I comment on entertainment news and mainly Star Wars news. Anyway, as someone with a bit of experience in this game, now years of experience in this game, let me tell you there is huge competition for clicks and views. There's a million channels on YouTube that do it and a million more on the way. And if you want to stay in the game, or if you want people to watch and listen to what you have to say, you're almost going to feel compelled to sensationalize the crap out of nothing stories in order to get people to watch and listen to what you're going to say. And I mean, one thing I hear or read all the time, and I'm not really trying to humble brag or anything, but people will say to me, Thor, you always have such balanced and fair takes on everything. I'm surprised more people don't watch your videos. But the simple truth is, balanced and fair takes, again in general, they don't sell. No one's really interested in hearing things from both sides of an issue. They're more interested in hearing why their side or their opinion is correct, or why they are in the right, or why the other side is so wrong. And it's a sad reality of the world we live in today, but getting people upset about stuff and keeping them upset, it's big money. As the saying goes, there's no money in the cure, only in the treatment. And so, rather ironically, those who complain the most about something, they generally have the least interest or desire in seeing it get better. I mean, why would you ever want to see something get better when you've made a career or fortune complaining about how bad it is? So anyway, no, I don't think it's quite as sporadic as it appears. I don't think the Star Wars fandom is anything outside of the norm when you look at other fandoms or other things around the world and how polarizing they can be too, or how people can seem to switch sides on a whim. I think it's simply the consequences, I guess we should call it, of living in a world where everyone wants their opinions to be heard and theoretically can be heard because of the internet and social media, but only the loudest and craziest among us tend to be the ones heard or have any attention paid to them. Well, that's all I got for this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about this one. Is the Star Wars fan base sporadic, or does it just seem that way because of the way the world is nowadays? Or you can always ask a question for a future lightning response video. Just start your comment off with "Hey Thor" and ask away. Whatever you choose to do though, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.